Good morning.
You're alive.
Welcome to What Have I Just Read with Alison, Malcolm and Michael.
And Jingle.
And Jingle.
Excellent. Good readings. Lots of
Isaiah 42.
Lots of stuff about words. I was very struck about words and listening but not hearing and being and
Definitely.
seeing but not and being deaf and
Yes.
blind.
This
Because
is
that
really-
carries on in Revelation as well about I am the word. It kind of this whole way of getting messages out to
Yes.
us, but are we
And
actually listening?
It's a theme in the New Testament, isn't it? Those of you who have ears, listen.
Right.
Um,
Who's he talking to? Listen, you that are deaf. Is that all of us, or is he speaking specifically to Isaiah?
Well, it's really interesting. We come again to the servant. Who is blind but my servant, or
Right.
deaf like my messenger whom I send? Is he talking about Isaiah the prophet? Is he talking about his people Israel?
Right.
Are they the servant here? It could be his people. This is a people robbed and plundered, all of them trapped in holes. And it's sort of the beginning bit. He passed judgment on them, but they haven't understood. But there's a big but at the end of this.
Right.
And sort of moving on into the next sort of bit of this section.
Right. Interesting.
yeah.
And then we have, I love this way, who gave Jacob up to the spoiler.
And Israel to the robbers. In other words, God is saying, I did that.
Yes.
As
Was it
part
not
of
the Lord
punishment. Yes.
against whom we've sinned? Poured out the heat of his anger and the fury of war.
Actually, was it not the Lord against whom we have sinned? So there is that sort of recognition there.
Right.
And that the Isaiah is sort of, it's almost Isaiah and the people become one here.
Okay.
He speaks for the people.
And I love this but this is a people robbed and plundered. All of them are trapped in holes and hidden in prisons. It's interesting. I was thinking about being trapped in holes. It's almost as if sometimes it's not just about physically being trapped in a space, but actually being trapped obviously in the sort of the holes of your own sort of sins and doing
blindness
things wrong, blindness,
lack
not
of-
listening.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's that classic line, isn't there? Listening but not hearing. I read that somewhere.
His ears are open, but he does not hear.
Yeah. It's great.
And then moving on to Revelation 19.
That's a great one, isn't it?
Start to get sort of, having had just constant doom and destruction and wrath, and
It starts to
it
be.
starts to get...
And there's a
Lots of
judgment,
avenues.
isn't there?
There is
Lots of avenues.
judgment. But what we're doing is so far we've had the four horsemen of the apocalypse, as they describe it, but now we get a fifth horseman, who is very
special,
different.
right.
White.
Gosh, I haven't seen him as the fifth horse, of course.
Yeah.
Wow, the white horse. And I love the white who's called faithful and true and righteous, who judges and makes war. It's really
And
interesting.
his name is called the Word of God.
Yeah, that is amazing. Because I often think it's very interesting how our experience of Christ and his teaching and all the sort of the kingdom that he represents is presented to us in words. It's the only way we can really get to it. It's very interesting. His name is called the Word of God, showing kind of how important the Word is. And so it goes back to that thing which we always say at Christmas, isn't it? In the beginning was the Word.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the fact that it is punctuated with these hallelujahs and praises, but also you've got this whole thing about the clothing, haven't you? That being dressed in fine linen.
Yes, yeah, that's nice, isn't it? It's
The Lord
very
our God, at the beginning, the Lamb has come, the bride herself has made her ready, clothed in fine linen, bright and pure. And then you've got later on this rider,
right.
his clothing is dipped in blood, which I can't remember where.
Yeah. That's interesting, that, isn't it? He was the Word of God, and he's clothed in a robe dripped in blood, and
Yes.
his name is called the Word of God.
Yes.
And his army and the armies of heaven wearing fine linen. Yeah, it's very interesting. I think the Word of God comes up a few times here, doesn't it?
And the great thing about this chapter is the invitation to the wedding, the bride, the marriage of the bride, which we meet again in Revelation 20 or 21.
So what is the point of the lamb at the wedding here? What's going on there?
Well, the wedding is the wedding of the Lamb, Christ, with his people.
Right.
They're bringing
That's
together
sort of the
Christ,
end,
and
isn't
that
it?
comes at the end.
Yes. Yes.
And this is now, if you like, the invitation, the king, the bridegroom has come. He's
Right.
come on the white horse, although he's going to be presented in different ways. But he's come on the white horse, and he comes. He finally defeats the beast,
Right.
and the prophet and the false prophet,
Right.
and he comes to conquer.
And it's interesting because then he says he's going to fall down. He wants at some point he wants to fall down and worship the angel, and he says, "No, don't do that. I'm basically one of your colleagues. He says you must not do that. I'm your fellow servant.
Yes.
With you and your comrades. Worship God for the testing of Jesus, the spirit of prophecy." It's interesting. So he's talking specifically. He said to me. That me is
John, yeah.
Right.
So the angel is speaking to him, and then, I mean, the key, then there's that great line, "Then I saw heaven opened, and there was a white horse." So he opened, I mean, heaven, Revelation that's basically what Revelation is, it's the opening of heaven.
Right.
So we see what's going on, we get a glimpse of what's going on there, while this here is all going on here.
Right.
And John, suddenly eyes are open. He's been talking to the angel. The angel says, "Don't worship me. I'm just like you, a fellow servant of Christ."
Right.
And then heaven is opened.
And here we are.
And he sees the horse.
I'm a co-worker.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. It's
And this thing about the name inscribed that no one knows but himself, that again,
Yes.
that sort of resonates with that whole, you cannot name me, I am who I am.
Yeah, I'm beyond all.
Yeah.
And
And
even
beyond-
though we have these things
yeah.
called faithful and true and
I
whatever.
couldn't help but remember cats. Do you remember cats?
Yes.
All the cats have their name which they're called in their homes, and then they have their other name that only the cats knows.
Yes.
Which is interesting. Have you ever seen the musical or read the poems? Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Oh, that's
Just-
nice. Yes.
Anyway.
Lovely. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful day.
Great. Yep. And a fun week. A whole
That's
week
it.
ahead. And a wonderful bazaar coming up.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Bye. Christmas bazaar.